found him, Commander. Kane's temple and base of operations. This field operative's covert transmission came to us live just 5 minutes ago, so there's no doubt that Kane's inside. He surrounded himself with his own crack militia. Getting to him won't be easy. Ironic, isn't it? Kane's planted his temple just outside of Sarajevo. If that sounds familiar, it's because that's where another madman started World War I. And here we are, trying to stop this madman from doing it again. Commander, there is to be no quarter given. No leniency in dealing with Kane and his zealots. Wipe his temple off the face of the earth. Destroy the bastard. Or prepare to die trying.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Command & Conquer. We are on the final GDI mission. Those of you who are watching and might be a bit young, I do apologise for the swearing in the cutscene. So, this mission is interesting, and as you can probably already tell from the video length, I'm going to be with you for a bit longer than the rest of the GDI levels. And a big part of that is purely down to the fact that Tiberium is tight in this level, and it's probably one of the biggest challenges that this level poses. It's not necessarily the positioning of Nod or the defense of Nod, but it is in fact Nod's ability to harvest safely versus your ability to harvest safely, and how, well, you don't have the ability to harvest safely in the slightest. So, what we're going to be doing is pretty standard. You may have noticed, because we lost the medium tank to the couple of rocket soldiers that have to be cleared out, we got an early barracks. And we're just moving the infantry around the map to get some early scouting. We need to see the attacks coming in pretty quickly to be able to respond. I've said this in every video recently, but I'm going to say it again. Double ref is less efficient than going one ref into one weapons factory, so if you want to play this optimally, don't do what I do, do not go double ref. Add your second refinery to your base after you've got the weapons factory, and you can already produce additional harvesters. Now, we've got access to a couple of fields of Tiberium, and I fanned the refineries out like that so that I can gather from both in unison.
Construction complete.
Now,
new construction.
Money being tight is probably the principal difficulty to this level, as is the fact that you can be attacked from both sides. So, all we're going to do is limit one of the angles of attack.
Construction complete.
A little bit of micromanagement of the harvester.
Construction complete.
Gives us exactly the space we need to move forward with the sandbags.
Construction complete.
We're just going to restrict this little cavern down here.
Construction complete. Building.
And all that's going to do is, similar to as you've seen it in an earlier mission, it's going to force Nod to take one particular path. It's not a full sandbag cheese, we are not hiding entirely from the Brotherhood, we're avoiding fights, we're trying to bug out their AI. We're just forcing them to take the preferred path. Now, tank production early is incredibly important. One of the reasons that tank production is incredibly important early is simply because Nod, as always, is going to be playing aggressive. I use a little bit of sandbag to extend my radius across the bridge. You can't build on the bridge, but you could extend your build radius over the bridge and use all that land behind you, which we're going to need. Now, the Temple of Nod does exist on this map, and those of you who have played this before know what the Temple of Nod is, but those of you who do not, the Temple of Nod is Nod's super weapon structure. It is their highest tech structure, costs a lot of money, and provides the Brotherhood with a single-use nuclear warhead. Now, the single-use nuclear warhead is incredibly powerful. It has the ability to instantly destroy any building in the game. that it hits directly, including valuable buildings like the construction yard. So,
Construction
there are
complete.
2 triggers for the nuclear weapon in this game, and it
New
is,
construction
unfortunately,
options.
possible
Items
to
needed.
hit both of those
Building
triggers.
on
Meaning,
hold.
although you,
Building.
the player, when you're playing as Nod, only ever get
Building.
1 nuke, the AI can potentially have 2. Now, Nod has 2 bases on this level. One of them is a forward base, and the other is the main base that houses Temple of Nod. Now, if you destroy one power plant and all the production structures in the forward base,
Complete.
Nod nukes you. If you
Building.
hurt the Temple of Nod, Nod nukes you. So those are your 2 triggers, and as I've said, you can trigger both, so you can get nuked twice. And that's purely because those triggers have been set up, and with no check as to whether a trigger's already gone off. So, because the AI doesn't keep track of its own ability to nuke,
Construction
it just
complete.
nukes you again.
Building.
That's perfectly fine. It's not anything we can't prepare for. So, we're starting to produce mammoth tanks, as you can imagine. These big, powerful tanks are going to be great for us, and as I've already explained to you in an earlier mission,
Building.
one of their unique abilities is the anti-infantry rockets, which we gain if their turret rotates around 180 degrees. It doesn't have to be precise. It means that these monstrous tanks can tank backwards, can kite backwards, whilst also dealing heavy damage to pursuing infantry. Additionally, mammoth tanks below 50% HP will repair themselves back up to 50% HP. It's a small little bonus that saves you having to repair them. So as you can already see, we've already fully depleted one of our Tiberium fields, and we're running low on the next one. Our tanks took damage because one of the things we made our tanks do was clear out one of the gun turrets to open up another tip field.
Building.
But even then, it's not going to provide us with a lot of safety. Although we've got the anti-tank or anti-infantry rockets of the mammoth tanks, it only really works when mammoth tanks are alone and are kiting effectively. As part of an army, you'd still want to produce these rocket launcher units. The rocket launcher units are very weak, very fragile, but they do hail fire down upon the weaker Nod infantry units with their AoE.
Construction complete.
So what we're going to be doing is, as part of our defensive line, just setting them behind the tanks.
Building.
And now you're seeing an infamous APC strategy, and that's because of how tight money is on this level. It's very difficult to attack Nod's eco, it's very difficult to starve Nod out in this mission.
Building.
So what you actually do
Cancelled.
is you take Nod's eco and you turn it into your eco. And that's principally how we're going to do this level. It's less about capturing key
Unit
structures
ready.
and disabling Nod's structures as it is before.
Construction
What we're actually
complete.
going to be doing is identifying Nod's isolated Tiberium silos and
On hold.
repeatedly capturing them
Cancelled.
to
Building.
steal Nod's funds. What will happen as a
Unit
result is
ready.
the Brotherhood of Nod will essentially be
Building.
funding our efforts against them.
Unit reporting. Yes, acknowledged.
So the Nod base is down towards this direction. And all we're going to do is dodge past a couple of gun turrets to get there.
Affirmative.
You can already see they have one protected tib field with 2 tib trees.
Moving out. Reporting. Ready and waiting. Yes.
Now, a big mistake happens there, and that big mistake is that the rocket soldier immediately shoots the
Construction
harvester.
complete.
Shooting the
Building.
harvester makes the harvester go into
Unit ready.
crush mode, which just crushes the infantry nearby. It's also
Building.
going to trigger an act of aggression from the Brotherhood of Nod. Just,
Our base
just
is
in case
under
that wasn't
attack.
already fun enough.
Construction complete. Ion cannon ready.
And a cheeky stealth tank assassinates my repairing APC. Very well done by the Brotherhood.
Building.
Yes.
little bit of failing to box my
Waiting. Moving out. Yes, sir.
harvester. But I don't know how long that harvester was idle for, but that's another problem with this level. For some reason, the pathing, partly because of how far away all the Tiberium is, the pathing for these harvesters in this level is not the most intelligent. So, at the moment, if the Brotherhood of Nod were to nuke us, they could remove us from the game. By nuking the barracks, they could potentially take out all 3 key structures. So one of the things I do as part of this level, and I don't do it right away because I need the money first, and because I know what the nuclear triggers are, is to establish a way that makes it impossible for Nod to remove us from the game. What do I mean by that? Well, it basically means have 2 separate bases that are reasonably far apart from one another. That's okay. We can deal with a lost APC because we can just move the infantry manually.
Building.
And as you can see, we got an impressive haul of money. And that's all we're going to do. That is how we essentially build up our own eco. It's less about the harvesting that we are doing, and more the ability to steal from the Brotherhood of Nod.
Construction complete. Building. Construction complete.
So, this is the GDI Advanced Guard Tower. It does do some damage to tanks, but its primary purpose is also anti-infantry. So, as commenters have previously pointed out, and are more than correct in saying, the Brotherhood of Nod tends to follow the structure of all of the Brotherhood of Nod's structures are anti-tank, because Nod's primary opposition, in terms of the strongest that Nod has to offer, is of course, or that GDI has to offer, is of course the tank. We think we have the medium tank, we have the rockets, we have the mammoth tank, we have a very impressive vehicle arsenal. GDI's base defences are primarily anti-infantry. One of Nod's strengths, although they don't have particularly different infantry, save for the flame trooper, is the small infantry hordes supported by light armor.
Yes, sir. Yes, moving out. Moving out. Unit moving out. Affirmative.
And that's kind of what we're doing here. So we're capturing and holding on to Brotherhood silos.
Not building, capturing.
We're flooding in
Unit
quite a
ready.
lot of money. Now, what we can do is immediately sell these bottom 2 because they're in range of Nod base defenses.
Construction complete.
And what Nod will now do is they will rebuild those silos. Like that. An interesting feature of the AI and how the AI behaves,
Not building,
the
capturing.
AI can use multiple construction yards. So,
Building. Unit
if
ready.
I were to have a second construction yard, all my buildings would produce faster.
Not building,
Could not
capturing.
produce 2 buildings at the same time, I could just produce buildings faster. The AI can use both construction yards, so Nod actually has 2 construction yards on this map,
Unit ready.
and as a result, it can replace its buildings 2 at a time.
Construction complete. Building. Our base is under attack. Building.
Now, what we're actually doing here
Unit
is
ready.
really quite interesting, because we're farming the Brotherhood for money.
Not building,
But we've
capturing.
also gained control of another Tiberium field, and this one's got Tiberium
Unable to
trees
comply.
in it.
Building in progress.
Because it's got Tiberium
Unable to
trees
comply.
in it,
Building in progress.
will
Unable to
actually
comply.
regrow,
Building
albeit
in
slowly.
progress.
this is what I mean about the AI being unintelligent. Our harvesters are returning to the field and simply not harvesting.
Construction complete.
It is quite a burden, but nothing that can't be overcome.
Building.
So at this point, all we can do is just continue mammoth tank production, and now we have to wait a little bit. What we have to wait for is the Brotherhood of Nod to continue harvesting enough to get its Tiberium back up. You want those silos a solid green before you can capture them, and that will give you the most money.
Ready. Construction complete. Building.
I've said it before, but the song you can currently hear is called I Am Destructible Times, and it is the theme of Nod, for lack of a better way. It was always intended that Kane's theme would be No Mercy, but this song was used instead. And this is from Frank's band, Frank being the sound designer of Command & Conquer.
Building.
Building a small army of technicians.
Building.
They're completely useless, but it's fun to hoard them.
Building. Construction complete. Unit ready. Unit ready. Unit ready. Our base is under attack.
All we're doing now is we're going to remove the gun turrets that are preventing us having access to this part of the base.
Unit lost. Building. Unit lost.
And I don't recommend you put your rockets at the front line. That often results in them getting destroyed.
Unit lost.
So 3 rocket soldiers will be a gun turret. It's quite impressive how a gun turret can handle these soldiers, given that Nod has anti-vehicle defense and not anti-infantry defense. But it's no different to the GDI. In fact, you can take out a GDI guard tower without using any units, just with rockets. And that's done principally by outranging the guard tower. The rocket soldiers, because of the way the tiles work, the aim is a circle, and the map is divided into squares. So the final tile that the guard tower can shoot on, it can only actually shoot half of that tile. What that means is if your rocket soldiers are stood at the back of the tile, they are technically in the guard tower's range but can't be shot by the guard tower. What that means is that they can then shoot the guard tower and actually kill it because the building occupies the entire tile.
Not building captured. Not building captured.
So the base to the south is the main Nod base, not the forward Nod base. That's just something to be considerate about. So there is another base, it's the one that all these units are actually coming from, that is providing the Brotherhood of Nod with its principal attacking forces.
Unit ready. Unit lost.
However, we are simply farming the Brotherhood for silos, and in doing so, gaining an awful lot of money. As you can see, we are incredibly rich, and have been able to build up an army as a result of it. All I'm doing is checking that my harvesters are continuing to harvest, because maintaining a steady eco is completely important. And now that we have reached 5,000, again the harvester has stopped, but now that we have reached 5,000, I'm building my next MCV. This is the only level in which you can actually build an MCV, but it's incredibly recommended that you get one because the Brotherhood might nuke you, though they tend to focus their superpowers on base defenses, surprisingly. So, in one of the covert ops missions, you actually distract the Nod nuke by building a guard tower in a weird place. And Nod will always nuke that guard tower. It could completely remove you from the game, but it would much prefer to nuke a guard tower. And that's quite a common trait. You get their way of making the AI smart in this game, because it was it's very early stages. Command & Conquer was the first Command & Conquer. Still a very early stages RTS as well, in which, see, that time I didn't follow my own rule and I actually got nothing for that. But because it's very early stages RTS, a lot of how you create the AI is done by just trying to make it not do something stupid. And by making it not do stupid things, you create the illusion of intelligence. And as much as I love this game, they failed it a little bit. Okay? The AI is far from intelligent here. All I'm doing is being mindful. There is a flame tank there, and it will destroy a construction yard that I build in seconds before I can actually deploy it. So I deploy it safely where I can defend it. The point of the construction yard was less to expand and more to have a backup, because I want to attack into the auxiliary nod base. And in doing so, I'm going to hit one of the nuke triggers. Because I'm going to hit one of the nuke triggers, well, I want to make sure that I'm not removed from the game the second that they nuke me.
Building. Unit ready.
So we push Nod off of the northeastern Tiberium fields, which is good. It's what we wanted.
Our base is under attack. Not building.
And by doing so, it means that our base, our harvesters can pretty much own that field now. And 2 harvesters to the 2 tib trees regrowing, they'll be more than happy to sit on that field for quite some time. Unfortunately, what I'm doing is I'm trying to build up my forces, but I'm actually taking more damage than I am gaining an advantage.
Select targets.
So, you saw the ion cannon there. I've held onto it for a very long time because I wasn't sure when I was going to attack. It instantly destroys any base defense structure or unit. It's a single target ability that does a lot of damage. And I use it to remove the Obelisk of Light. As you've seen, attacking into an Obelisk of Light is incredibly, incredibly powerful. So we just didn't want to deal with that. You can already see just how powerful Nod's response is, because even with these most powerful units, we are struggling. Destroying additional silos will make those silos fill up quicker, which means we'll steal the money quicker. There's all rhyme and reason as to why we're doing what we're doing. But as you can see, the auxiliary nod base didn't really stand much of a chance. You can destroy that power plant. That power plant is safe to destroy. So, as you can see, Nod is just rebuilding, and that's fine because we're just making them use their money by doing so, and we're holding our ground.
Construction complete. Building.
A couple more engineers to take a little bit more money.
Yes, sir. Moving out. Acknowledge. Yes, sir.
So, the tanks are getting fanned out, and the reason the tanks are getting fanned out is just to block the reproduction of those buildings that we've just invested time and money into taking out. Nod will rebuild those seemingly infinitely for as long as their Tiberium stocks will last, which is quite a while. And so you want to make sure that you starve out the Brotherhood and the Brotherhood's ability to produce.
Acknowledge. Moving out. Yes, sir. Awaiting order. Moving out.
So,
Ion cannon
now that
ready.
we've started to starve the Brotherhood of its resources, we are making our next move, and our next move is going to be that we're going to attempt to remove the
Our base is
backup
under attack.
construction yard that the Brotherhood has from play.
Yes, moving out.
As you can see, flame troopers are just so good. They're so robust. We do not mind that the Brotherhood is rebuilding the power plants. As I said, part of the trigger is to destroy all the production buildings, the refinery, and the power plants. If you don't destroy the power plants, you don't hit that nuke trigger, which is what we're trying to do here. As you can see, the Brotherhood is attacking into us quite a lot. So that even all of those tanks, they will not hold infinitely. In fact, they're falling already. So it's important to make this play reasonably quickly. As you can see, there are huge amounts of Tiberium that are completely safe for the Brotherhood to gain. And that forms sort of part of the problem. And all we're going to do is we're going to capture these Nod buildings. I considered holding on to them, but instead I figured sell them for the bonus cash.
Unit lost.
And what we can do is then destroy the base defenses. So this was where the other Nod, the auxiliary Nod construction yard is hiding. Depending on which map you pick, lots of these maps play out the same. Nod will always have isolated silos, and you can clear the mission in more or less a similar way, just adapting to the different layout. I destroy the church, as is tradition in a Command and Conquer game. Unfortunately, there is no money there, but, you know, old habits die hard.
Building.
So, our next stage is to have a strong enough army to push into the Nod main base.
Construction complete. Building.
And we do that with a lot of work.
Unit ready.
So the first thing we have to do is we have to identify... Also, Nod can rebuild their construction yard.
Unit
No
lost.
other player has that ability, but Nod, because it has 2 construction yards, and for the AI, the construction yard is listed as a building that you can build.
Unit ready.
It can just rebuild its construction yard like that.
Unit
It's very
ready.
funny.
Building. Unit lost. Unit lost.
So all we're doing is we're trying to repair and rebuild our sort of army. We want lots of tanks because we're going to be trying to push through and starve the Nod eco. Starving the Nod eco will let us push in, and then we'll be able to claim the victory of the level. As I promised you, this level would last a little bit longer, and it most certainly is.
Unit ready. Building. Building.
Yes, sir. Affirmative.
Unit ready.
Yes, sir.
But all I'm doing now is just
Construction complete.
continuing to farm the
Building.
Brotherhood for money,
Unit ready.
whilst
Unit
I
lost.
set up
Sir. Yes, sir.
my next stage. And what we're going to be doing is not only building our
Building.
mammoths, but we're going to be doing a dash into the Brotherhood base.
Unit
I
lost.
found what I wanted to find,
Unit
which
lost.
was that obelisk of light. And the reason I'm looking for that obelisk of light is because I want to do a capture. This is something that you have seen several times
Select
in the
target.
game before.
Ion cannon.
You've seen me doing it. And that would have looked a lot cooler if I didn't mess up the resolution immediately afterwards. So this is Nod's other construction yard.
Not
And the loss of that
building.
means they now can no longer rebuild their buildings. It becomes safe to actually start attacking the Brotherhood of Nod.
Construction complete. Our base is under attack.
So,
Not building captured. New construction options. New
you
construction
could hold on to that building and start producing the
Unit lost. Unit lost.
obelisks of light from it. But I don't do that.
Unit lost.
Instead, I've got a pretty impressive tank brigade, and all I'm going to do is just continue to add to it, producing more and more mammoths, while stealing what little eco Nod actually has
Construction
left.
complete. Not building
You know, Nod
captured.
can't rebuild those
Unit
anymore,
Lost.
and it's running a very crippled economy. And that really gives us the opportunity to clear out the map. We can start thinking about taking out the auxiliary base, and we can take a nuke to the chin now and be absolutely fine. If we get nuked now, we can't be removed from the game, and we'll still be in a stronger position than the Brotherhood of Nod. Part of that is the sheer amount of money we've actually stolen from the Brotherhood.
Yes, sir.
Now, as we
Construction
cross over into the 30th minute mark,
Building.
it's all about just how we close out the level. So we've got this guy whittling away on an advanced power plant, just consuming even more of Nod's funds by forcing them to repair it.
Unit reporting.
Our harvesters are still being incredibly unintelligent.
Building. Construction complete.
So what I'm actually going to do,
Construction
I'm going to
complete.
extend the build radius
Building.
a little bit with some
Building.
sandbags.
Construction complete. Building. Construction complete.
And then I'm going to stick a
Building.
forward refinery down. Now that I know the Brotherhood can't be producing
Construction
units
complete.
in the same way that it used to,
Acknowledged.
I can stick that refinery down.
Yes, sir.
And it's reasonably safe. I mean, we did have the AGTs there anyway,
Unit reporting.
but
Acknowledged.
now it's all about taking out that final harvester.
Ion cannon ready.
The loss of that harvester will be sort of the removal of Nod's game
Unit
as they move on to sort of a finite resource.
Affirmative. Yes. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes. Affirmative. Acknowledged.
Building.
So there are a couple of Nod troops trying to run to our base, but that's fine. That's not something we need to worry about.
Yes.
We can start pushing in with all these mammoth tanks. And trust me, the end of the video is starting to come.
Acknowledged.
We're almost there. Then you just get to enjoy the
Our
cutscenes.
base is under
Yes, sir.
attack.
Acknowledged. Moving out. Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Vehicle reporting.
Unit lost.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Unit lost.
unit reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
So I take a lot of casualties here. As I said, Nod's base defenses are primarily anti-tank. So they, even with a horde of mammoth tanks, you can take a lot of damage from the Brotherhood of Nod in this attack. The base is, well, it's cleared out, you know. And at this point, we can just keep moving tanks forward, pressing tanks in, doing as much damage as we physically can. We've removed the auxiliary base from play. We've removed the secondary construction yard from play, and we've all but crippled their main base.
Yes, sir. Affirmative. Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
Construction complete.
Affirmative. Acknowledged. Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, yes.
So, over that bridge is the remainder of Nod. It is the Temple of Nod,
Acknowledged. Yes,
and it is where Kane is hiding. It is where he has been hiding. We've seen him in the cutscene. Now, whoops. That was me accidentally attacking the
Unit lost. Unit lost.
Temple of Nod, and I've hit one of the nuke triggers. Because I damaged the Temple of Nod, and I've hit that nuke trigger, I have now been nuked. And because I have been nuked, that nuke trigger will no longer trigger.
Building.
If I leave the Temple of Nod open and go and destroy those 3 power plants in the auxiliary base, I will get nuked again. So,
Select target. Ion
interesting Easter egg is you can affect the ending depending on how you destroy the Temple of Nod. So you'll get to enjoy that in the final cutscene. Because I destroyed it with the iron cannon, we'll get a special
Construction
cutscene.
complete.
If you destroy it with anything
Select
else,
target.
the cutscene is different.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
So, now that there is no Temple of Nod, I can destroy those power plants and not hit the nuke trigger. Because there is nothing to nuke me anymore.
Acknowledged. Yes, sir.
But with that, it is the end of this level. It is the end of the GDI campaign. Enjoy the ending cutscene, and I'll see you guys around for the Nod campaign.
Affirmative. Affirmative. Yes, sir. Acknowledged.
Mission accomplished.
We've taken serious. The temple's been blown all to hell. We need to get out of here before...
Sir, topside has suffered significant damage. Structural integrity has been compromised. I estimate GDI will have access to this command center in approximately 20 minutes.
Y'all son of a bitch. Just do it up. Just do it up. Every encounter's gonna be that much.
United Nations officials have confirmed that Global Defense Initiative assault troops successfully attacked and destroyed the alleged Sarajevo headquarters of the Brotherhood of Nod. This ends a 3-day siege which saw GDI and Nod forces engaged in mortal combat. Eyewitnesses and survivors report that, although evenly matched, the GDI forces employed superior tactics and strategy, outmaneuvering Nod in what was termed an epic battle. Quoting from a written statement issued earlier today, UN Secretary of Defense Dr. Charles Olivetti praised the men and women of the UN-funded GDI, calling them, quote, tireless defenders of freedom and heroes to history, unquote. Although refusing to disclose specific totals, Dr. Olivetti confirmed reports that heavy casualties were sustained by both sides. Kane, the single-named charismatic Nod leader and self-proclaimed prophet, is among those missing and assumed dead. Discovery and destruction of the Nod Command Center ends more than 3 years of continued escalating violence, sparked by that organization's international terrorist activities. World reaction has been mixed. Slavic Prime Minister Yuri Kolenko denied accusations